The next point, we should ensure whatever we see is clear.
That means work is being done. We can see that it is in opposite direction.
Good day, learners. My name is Tijani Muhammad Aliyu. You are welcome to Kaduna State's e-learning program on radio and television. The topic is product, a continuation of the last topic treated, which is product life cycle, and the subject is marketing. For today's subtopic, you're going to talk about components of a product, goods, and services. Let's take a look at what happened in the last lesson, which is product life cycle, otherwise known as the PLC. We said there are 4 stages or 5 stages, as the case may be, depends on the examination you are going to write, whether NECO or WAEC. We have 4 stages, which is the introductory stage, the growth stage, the maturity, and the decline. Now for today, we are going to talk about the components of product, which include the following: the core product, the product attributes, the brand name, and packaging. Now let's take a look at it. The outline includes components of a product, goods, then we'll talk about our assignment. Now the component of a product, the core product. This is the actual benefit which the consumer is seeking to purchase from a product. For example, a hotel user is actually buying the concept of a product. Let's explain this in little terms. When you look for an accommodation in a hotel, for instance, what do you seek to achieve? Comfort, acceptability, receptibility, and the rest of it. If you don't get this in the place you are willing to accommodate, which means there's a problem. That's what's meant by core product. The original interest that took you down there to go and stay for a while or to have a holiday. The same thing if you go to a hotel resort. For instance, we have in the country, we have Yankari Game Reserve. In Cross River, we have Ubudukatu Ranch, and the rest of them. If you go there, what do you seek? Luxury, comfortability, and the rest of them. Those are what we call core value and core product. The second one, which is product attributes, which is the additional features. These features are also known as attributes. This refers to some features that are associated with a core product. We differentiate the brand, we differentiate both brands. For instance, the additional features for a bath soap bought by a consumer include the washing ability, the shape, the fragrance, the color, etc. Every additional feature adds to the personality of the product. Let's take a look at our bar soaps or your toilet soap that we use in our houses. If you go and buy a soap, or your parents send you to buy a soap, for instance, he sends you to buy a particular soap that has a feature that maybe once used for an ailment. For instance, say a one that has a detergent, a one that has a septic or antiseptic ingredients in it, which means it can be used for bathing and at the same time can be used for washing or bathing, as the case may be. Number 3, which is the brand name. This consists of words, letters, numbers that can be vocalized. Brand is defined as the name, term, symbols, logos, and designs which give the product, service a certain identity. A bar soap from a different company is different from a bar soap from a different company, another company. Now, a detergent from another company is different from a detergent from another company. Some could be wrapped in a pack or a leather for protective purposes. In modern days, detergents are wrapped in leather form to protect it from either water from being penetrating it or from other sunlight, maybe reducing the potency of that ingredients inside the detergent. The same thing too goes to with the bar soap that we use in our toilets too. They are equally protected by leather or packs, as the case may be, and differentiate each other from one another. If you see a soap from a particular company, you differentiate it from another company. Let me give you an instance. If you take Joy soap, for instance, it's different from Premier soap. If you take Dettol, for instance, it's different from Septol and the rest of them. They all have different uses and different purposes for buyers to buy them. The number 4 part, which is the packaging. The packaging is the wrapper or the container that you use in holding a particular product for a longer period of time, and it equally distinguishes that particular product from another competitor's product. Now, it gives it a uniqueness in itself. Now, let's take a look at consumables, for instance, like our cocoa in the morning that we use for breakfast and the rest of them. If you take example of Bonvita and Milo, there's a distinctive value between them. Those are what we meant by packaging. Now, the packaging of a particular product attracts the consumer to buy that product. Oftentimes, it's always said that it's the way you are being packaged that you are being addressed. And it's the way you are being packaged that your value will increase over time. If you don't package your product very well, definitely it will be undervalued or underpriced. Now let's take a look at goods and services. Now the goods and services produced by companies are referred to as products. Let's get it straight. Goods and services produced by companies are referred to as products. Now, which means products are broken into 2 distinctive factors: goods and services. Now, what is goods? These are tangible items that fulfill all needs and desires of consumers, which include clothing, furniture, foods, electronics, and so on. And services are benefits that one person can offer to the other, which are intangible in nature. For instance, your haircut, police services, military services, even studio recordings are all services because you feel them, but you cannot take them away. This will take us down to the differences between goods and services. Now, for the purpose of exam, my dear learners at home, there are different forms of answering this particular question, which is differentiation between goods and services. It's either you use the table form or the tabular form, as the case may be, or you use the word whereas or while. But preferably, because of experience over time, it's advisable that you use a table form, which is a distinctive method of answering differentiation among 2 variables. Because in the process of answering one, there must be a semblance of the other one. Let's take a look at the one we have on the slide. Differences between goods and services. Number 1, good is a tangible object. Service is an intangible object. Tangible here simply means you can feel, carry, see, and move it from one place to another. While service is intangible, you only feel and smell it. Number 2, a good can be touched, smelled, tasted, and seen, while services cannot be seen or touched. Number 3, the ownership of goods can be transferred from the seller to the buyer, while the ownership of services cannot be transferred. Let's elucidate a little bit on this point. You can transfer your textbook that you use. For instance, you are using a marketing textbook for your examination, which is SSC and NECO. You can transfer it to your younger one, which is in the lesser class, which is in SS2 now, which means you have transferred a goods to him. But the knowledge that you acquired, which is service, which is over time, you can only teach it the way I'm teaching you now. You can only teach it, but you cannot transfer it. You can only teach it, as the case may be. You can transfer the book, you cannot transfer the knowledge. It's transferable in a manner that is form of a service, which is teaching is a service. Number 4, part of the good, which is goods are homogeneous. The quality of one product is the same across all line of product, while in service is heterogeneous. That is, each time a service is offered, it may vary in quality. Homogeneous in this context simply means the same. The word homo simply means the same, one, while heterogeneous simply means different. The difference between both homogeneous and heterogeneous is the price and price variation. Now, this will take us down to the characteristics of services. Characteristics of services include the following: service intangibility, which means service is only meant to be seen, tasted, felt, and heard, or smelled before they are bought. Let's take a look at a very good example, which is a hairdo or a salon, for instance. The way a hair is being done, maybe plaiting by most women, attracts other ladies to do the same thing. Once a lady plaits a hair or braids a hair, you ask the other lady, where did you do this? Or where did you get your hair braided? Where did you get your hair plaited? You now introduce that same person to that particular service provider, which is referred to as referral marketing. Number 2 is service inseparability, which means you cannot separate the owner of that service. You cannot separate the service provider from its service. They must go hand in hand. You can't separate a hairdresser from what he or she renders. You cannot separate teaching from the teacher. You cannot separate recording from the recorder. You cannot even separate the driver from the driving vehicle. They must go pari passu, which means they go hand in hand at any point in time. Number 3, which is service variability. The way one particular service provider offers a service distinguishes from the way the other person offers its service. One hairdresser can make a hell lot of difference from the other person. This means that the quality of services varies greatly and relies so much on who provides them, when, where, how, and how they are being provided. Service is heterogeneous, which means they are not the same thing. Now, perishability of service. This means that they cannot be kept for future sales or use. Services are transient, which means they move with time. The word transient simply means they move with time. Now, let's take a look at a very good example that I just cited in the first part of the topic. If a hotel, for instance, has guests that occupies the whole rooms in the hotel, that particular day, that service is not perished. How do I mean? The next day, if the hotel rooms are not occupied, which means those rooms are perished, the services of those rooms are perished. Why? Because they are meant to be occupied. Now, when a policeman does not have a job to do, which means arresting of thieves, armed robbers at the end of the day, he comes back from home, stays, go back to the office, nothing, which means he has not done anything. That service for that day is perished. When a teacher comes to a school, for instance, and there are no students to be taught, for that day, he has not done any job, which means the service for that day is perished. That is what's meant by service perishability. Learners at home, we've come to the end of this lesson. Let's summarize what we have learned so far. We talked about the components of a product. We defined goods and service and the rest of them. Now, we want to say that the core product is that benefit that the consumer tends to derive when it seeks to buy a product. Number two, which is the additional features or attributes, as the case may be. For the purpose of your exam, it could be additional features or attributes. We said they are the product, the features that are associated with the brand, which is the shape, the size, the fragrance, the worship, anything that is more unique that differentiates that brand from a particular brand. Number three, which is the brand name. The brand name is a letter or the number that distinguish one product from the other. Now let's set an example. For a car or automobile vehicle, for instance, the shape of a product for a Peugeot is different from that of a Honda, while that of Volkswagen is different from that of Hyundai Excel, as the case may be. So there's a logo. The logo there is the symbol, which is the same thing. The symbol for a Peugeot car is lion head, while that for a Honda is a capital H. For Volkswagen is a very large W. Now for packaging, which is the container and the wrapper that is used to wrap the particular product, which equally distinguish that particular product from the other one, for you to know the difference. For instance, a bottle of Limca drink is different from a bottle of Tim. The shape of the product differentiates from one another. Now let's take a look at goods and services. We said goods are tangible in nature, while services are intangible. We went on to talk about the characteristics, the differences between goods and services. Number one, of which is tangible, which is a good is a tangible object, while service is intangible. A good can be touched, smelled, or felt, or tasted and seen, while services cannot be touched. Number three, we went on to talk about the ownership of goods can be transferred from the seller to the buyer, while in services, ownership of services cannot be transferred. Number four, so goods are homogeneous in nature, which means they are of the same quality, the same purpose they are used for. While in services, they are heterogeneous, which means it's the price or the service provider that is providing the service that is differentiated from one another. We went on to talk about the characteristics of services, which include service intangibility. We talk about service can be seen, tasted, felt, or heard before they are bought. We talked about service inseparability, where we talked about you cannot separate the owner or the provider of the service from the service that is rendered. Number three, we talk about service invariability. Service variability, which is the quality of service that varies greatly and relies so much on who provides them, when, where, and how they are being provided. Service is heterogeneous. Where we talked about, for instance, you have a tailoring shop. The service that one tailor offers to a customer differs from the other one. Some might witness high patronage. Why? Because of time value, and the money. The money here, maybe a good tailor might decide to go on a subsidized rate where you can get much more patronage. Then we talk about service perishability. We talked about whereby if, for instance, you went to have a hotel accommodation or you went for a holiday inn, whereby those places don't witness high volume of people flowing in, which means there's a problem. That problem, which means that service has been perished over time. There's no way you can offer those services without it being perished. Learners at home, we've come to the end of this lesson, and we're going to give assignments for things we have taught, for the lesson that we have taught today. The assignment goes like this. You're going to write short notes on the following terms. Number 1, the core product. 2, additional feature. 3, brand name. 4, packaging. 5, service intangibility. 6, service inseparability. I repeat, write short note on the following terms: the core product, the additional feature, the brand name, packaging, service intangibility, service inseparability. And number 2, part of it is you state 2 differences between goods and services. I repeat, state 3 differences between goods and services. Dear learners at home, for any question or answer or any form of ambiguity in this lesson that you don't understand, you can call me on my number, which is 080-3637-3342. I repeat, 080-3637-3342. Stay home, stay safe, keep learning.